Good afternoon, everyone. My name is John Bertolino and my partner Matt Dannenfeld, and we're here from Seedbox Solution to talk to you about logistics, hard boxes, and ways of improving your capital utilization. So with that, we'll start in. So we're going to talk about center discharge containers. Why do we have them? Better packaging, transportation and warehousing, freight, logistics cost, a pathway to savings, and alternatives to capital spend on hard boxes, which leads us to rental. So why do we have hard boxes? Well, for decades, the industry was serviced only by local seed providers. Basically, your farmer went down to the local town, bought his seed, brought it, and planted it. As more seed got further developed with genetics, there was better seed available for the particular farms that the farmer was managing, and that required getting this seed from further distances. That then led to better packaging. In order to ship and store that seed, you needed to have a better container to stack it in your warehouse, and eventually it got brought out to the field. This is what better packaging looks like today. They're commonly called center discharge containers. They're a hard box. They hold about 2,500 pounds of seed. About 25 years ago, they came onto the market. Syngenta was the first company that actually created it. It was a smaller box that went in the back of a pickup truck, and it could discharge out the side. Later on, Pioneer, now Corteva, created the new box that we see out there today, the largest container, and then the rest of the industry more or less followed over the next 20 years. Automation then came after the box. So people ask, why is a box the size that it is? Well, it was designed to hold 50 units of seed stacked in a warehouse up to 4 high. But there really wasn't any equipment made to work with it because it wasn't a food grade pallet like 4840 or a or an automotive pallet that was 4845. So it's a specific size to the seed industry. So on the left you can see a picture of some automation. I think that vendor might even be set up here today. And that automation rotates the boxes, assembles them, put lids on, takes lids off. So a lot of automation came after the box. With that, better packaging leads to new distribution. What you're seeing in this picture would be 4-box and 2-box seed tenders. Those tenders carry the boxes out to the field, and then the farmer can then auger the seed from the bottom of that box into their planter boxes or into the larger center fill container on the right-hand side. So now you have these boxes that just went out to the field, and all those boxes eventually have to get returned to that warehouse or seed producer that was, again, not in the same city that you live. And now you're looking at a 5-year trend of what freight cost is to move hard boxes since 2016. Freight has continued to do a diagonal line to the right, and it really doesn't look like it's slowing down. Freight today. The American Trucking Association estimates that there's a shortage of about 80,000 truck drivers today, 2021. National dry van rates broke $2.50 a mile, and that's in September as well this year. Fuel prices obviously are going up. Go to the pump, we see it every day. Doesn't look like that's slowing down for a while either. We've all heard about the equipment shortages in the industry. You've got a lack of containers, you've got a lack of trailers, a lack of drivers. Couple that with inflation, you have high demand, high input costs. All that leads to prices are going up in freight. So what does that mean? I'm a box owner. I've used them. My customers love these containers for seed, and I got to get them back, and freight's going up. People don't realize when they buy hard boxes, the second highest cost of ownership is the freight afterwards. So how can seed producers save on increasing freight cost? It's pretty simple. You just need to ship more in the same truck. And we've always heard that kind of analogy, whether it's a box, a bucket, a truck, a refrigerator, you got to put more in if you want to save money. The picture on the right is 3 high and then 2 high. You do the math on what's going to get you more in that truck, 3 high. Real quick analysis for you. And you can certainly stop at our booth here right over there at Seedbox Solution Orbis. We can talk to you at more length. But if you took 10,000 seed boxes with an average freight return cost of $1,000 for a 300-mile trip, and you use the old style hard box that's out there that's 44 on a truck, it takes you 227 trucks. It costs you $22.73 a box. If you take the new style container that gets 66 on a truck, it's going to be 151 trucks, $15.15 per bin, and it's going to cost you, it's actually going to save you $75,800 in a year to ship those 10,000 boxes back. You're shipping 50% more in a truck, and you're saving 33% on your freight cost. You look at the multi-year on that, a 3, a 6, and a 12-year. 3 years, you're saving $227,000. 4 years, $454,000. And at 12 years, you've almost saved $1 million in freight. And 12 years seems like a long time, but these boxes last decades. So it's real money, it's real savings. But that actually makes you pivot to a different discussion on how do I save more on my logistics cost and box ownership. Should you rent a box or should you own? If you rent, it can be delivered to your door. There's even more savings. I'm actually going to turn the presentation over to my partner, Matt Dannenfeld, and Matt's going to talk a little bit about capital utilization and why a rental model might actually work and save you more money versus an ownership model.
Thank you, sir. Hello. Thank you, John. Yeah, traditionally speaking, seed producers, for those of you in the audience or watching from home, seed producers have bought and managed their own fleet of boxes. So within the last 3 years, we've basically put together an alternative solution to that, which would be to rent them as opposed to buying them. So a little bit about the difference in those programs. First and foremost, from a capital deployment standpoint, rather than buying a pretty capital-intensive product like a box, the rental program allows you to essentially get it for about 25 to 20% on a per unit cost basis in year one. So you can take that money and obviously deploy it against what would be considered more growth impactful channels for your business, marketing, sales, other top line initiatives. If you think about that in the context of adding new customers, growing your market share, every time one of your sales reps comes in, they found another customer, that customer is ready to go. They want to buy seed, but they're insistent on getting that seed in boxes. The rental program allows you to obviously say yes to that customer without the extensive capital that maybe you didn't have planned, maybe you don't have in your budget for that particular year. A few of the other things that the rental program allows you is essentially you only rent what you need. So in an ever-changing market, with market share growing and retracting year over year in a competitive environment, it's not uncommon that seed producers will own a quantity of boxes that they need in a year, and then the next year or two they actually end up with a surplus. So in the context of a rental, you're just renting what you need in each individual growing season, and you're only going to pay for that. So you don't have to deal with the storage, you don't have to deal with the headaches, you don't have to deal with the service and the maintenance. You essentially order what you need, they're delivered to your production facility on a just-in-time basis. Post-planning season, once those boxes are recovered, you send them back to one of our service locations located all throughout the United States, and you essentially wash your hands of having to manage and deal with and really, frankly, think about those boxes until the subsequent harvest. So, our position, generally speaking, is not to stand up here and say rental is better, because it's not necessarily better. I think what it is from a packaging perspective is it's another option. For 20 years, seed producers were left to basically buy the box and figure it out. There was one choice, and it was freight prohibitive. Our feeling and our position in the market is really just to give a broader conversation around packaging. It doesn't get a lot of attention. It's not very sexy, but it's expensive, and it can be a really expensive part of an operation for a seed producer. So, the ability to basically compare buying versus renting, a Gen 250 box versus a traditional style, and looking at all those options in terms of weighing your packaging, we feel is just a better and obviously more impactful way to measure your business and try to grow your business. With that in mind, I think that kind of covers it between the freight and the rental versus buy. As John mentioned earlier, we do have a booth here in the field village. So if any of you want to come over and ask any more detailed questions about packaging in the seed industry, we'd love to meet with you one-on-one. Otherwise, thank you for your time.